It started with a smile that quickly faded. When Jordan Sinclair, a successful Black CEO of a rising tech company, arrived at the airport, she wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary. Dressed in a sleek blazer and carrying herself with quiet confidence, she handed over her first-class ticket at the gate. But instead of a warm welcome, she was met with raised eyebrows, a condescending tone, and the phrase that would change everything. Asterisk. Are you sure you're in the right line? Asterisk. What was supposed to be a routine business trip turned into a moment of humiliation in front of a growing line of passengers. The airline staff insisted there was a mistake with her booking, even though Jordan had the confirmation right on her phone. As they ushered others past her, ignoring her calm explanations, she realized it wasn't about the ticket, it was about something deeper. Jordan didn't yell, she didn't create a scene. Instead, she stepped aside, pulled out her phone, and made one quiet call. No one knew who she was speaking to. No one could hear what was said. But what happened just hours later would leave the entire airline scrambling and completely change how they viewed the woman they had brushed aside. Who was she really? And what power did she have to make one call that would send shockwaves through a billion-dollar company? This isn't just a story about a flight denied. It's a story about pride, power, and the quiet strength behind a woman underestimated one too many times. And what came next? Let's just say the airline would never forget the name Jordan Sinclair again. Stay tuned. You won't believe what happened after that call. Jordan Sinclair wasn't just any CEO. At only 34, she built her tech company from a tiny home office into a multi-million-dollar firm that powered digital platforms used by Fortune 500 companies. She had spoken at global conferences, sat on advisory boards, and even been featured in business magazines. But none of that mattered when she stood at that gate, being looked at like she didn't belong. The airline worker didn't bother checking her name twice. They didn't ask questions. They just assumed, and Jordan felt it, that familiar sting of being judged not by her achievements, but by her appearance. Still, she didn't raise her voice. She'd learned long ago that real power doesn't always come with volume. It comes with knowing exactly when and where to strike. The call she made wasn't long. Less than 2 minutes. She spoke calmly, gave a few names, a few details, and then ended the call with a quiet, "Thank you. I'll wait." And wait she did. Meanwhile, the airline staff continued boarding passengers, their tones softer and smiles wider for everyone else. A few people in the lounge watched Jordan curiously, some with sympathy, others with quiet judgment. None of them had any idea what was about to unfold. Back in her early career, Jordan had worked for companies where she was overlooked in meetings, mistaken for an assistant, or passed over for promotions. Every one of those moments added fuel to the fire that built her success. She'd promised herself she'd never let anyone make her feel small again, and today, that promise echoed louder than ever. What the airline didn't know was that their casual disrespect had reached the wrong woman at the wrong time, and the clock had already started ticking. By the time Jordan's name was finally called over the speaker, the plane doors were already closed. The gate agent didn't apologize. In fact, they barely looked at her when they said, "You've been rebooked in economy for the next flight. It's company policy." It was the kind of response that sounded practiced, like they'd said it 100 times before and never once cared who they were saying it to. But this time was different. What the staff didn't know was that Jordan's tech company provided cybersecurity solutions to several major airlines. Quietly, behind the scenes, her firm had built the digital infrastructure that kept their systems running smoothly: booking platforms, customer data encryption, flight scheduling software. Including this airline, she had contacts on their board. She even had lunch with one of their executive VPs just last month. As she sat in a corner of the airport lounge, unnoticed and unbothered, messages started coming in, first from her assistant, then from a legal advisor, and then from someone on the airline's corporate team. "We're looking into it now. Can you confirm who you spoke with at the gate? Please don't leave the airport yet." Jordan said nothing to the people around her. She sipped her tea slowly, watching the gate she was denied entry through less than an hour ago. Her mind was calm, but focused. This wasn't about revenge, it was about accountability. She wasn't going to shout on social media. She wasn't going to post a video. She was going to do something that hit much deeper. Behind the scenes, a chain reaction had started. Corporate phones were ringing, emails were flagged urgent, and for the first time, someone at the top was asking, who turned away Jordan Sinclair? They had no idea what they'd just triggered. It had only been a few hours, but inside the airline's corporate office, it felt like the ground was shifting. Emails were forwarded up the chain with subject lines like *urgent, incident involving VIP asterisk and asterisk escalation, Jordan Sinclair. Asterisk, most employees didn't know who she was, yet. But the moment someone pulled up her profile and saw the clients her company supported, the tone shifted fast. This wasn't just bad customer service. This was a business crisis. At the airport, the same gate agents who had brushed her off earlier began glancing her way. Whispers moved quickly among staff. A manager who hadn't been around during the incident was suddenly rushing toward the lounge. He offered a tight smile, nervously introduced himself, and asked if she'd be willing to step into a private room to discuss the situation. Jordan looked up from her phone, calm as ever, and simply replied, "Not yet." What they didn't realize was that while they scrambled to manage PR, Jordan had already spoken to 2 airline partners, companies that used her firm to protect customer data and streamline flight operations. Both were concerned, both had questions, and both agreed. If this was how one of the country's top black female executives was being treated, publicly and unapologetically, what did that say about the brand they were tied to? Meanwhile, social media was beginning to stir. A few passengers from the gate had quietly taken notice, snapping photos and sharing them with vague captions like "something big is going down at gate 17. One tweet mentioned Jordan by name. A few of her followers picked it up, and just like that, the ripple started spreading. Inside the airline's command center, alerts were going off. Search traffic spiked. Executives were being pulled from meetings. One question kept circling the room. What is she going to do next? No one had the answer. Not yet. Just as the airline's leadership began to piece together the severity of the situation, another curveball dropped, one they never saw coming. A journalist from a major business news outlet reached out to Jordan's office. They caught wind of the unfolding drama through industry chatter and Twitter buzz. But what caught their attention wasn't just the discrimination or the denied boarding. It was the deeper connection. The reporter had been digging and uncovered something explosive. 2 months earlier, Jordan's firm had been in confidential talks to acquire a smaller tech company. That company, it turned out, provided core systems to the very airline that had denied her boarding. The acquisition hadn't been announced yet, but if it went through, Jordan's company would have control over key digital infrastructure, everything from internal security systems to mobile check-ins. The reporter asked for a comment. Jordan didn't respond, yet, but the airline's legal team caught wind of it, and panic set in. This wasn't just a PR issue anymore. This was a looming power shift. If the acquisition closed, Jordan wouldn't just be a valued partner. They'd be reliant on her. The kind of reliant that keeps a company's digital heartbeat running. And now, that very person had been humiliated at their front gate. Inside the control room, a senior VP ordered an emergency meeting. Find out who turned her away. Pull footage. Get names. Now. But it was too late. The damage was done. Not only had they disrespected a VIP client, they had potentially jeopardized a partnership that held the keys to their own operations. Back at the airport, Jordan received another message, this time from the CEO of the airline. 3 simple words lit up her phone. Can we talk? She read the message, paused, and then let the screen go dark. Jordan sat quietly, watching the hustle of the airport around her, her phone resting face down beside her. She wasn't in a rush, let them sweat. Her assistant had just confirmed the final paperwork on the acquisition had gone through that morning. It was now official. Her company owned the systems that powered nearly 60% of the airline's tech backbone. From their internal communications to customer-facing platforms, her team was now at the controls. The message from the airline CEO was followed by a phone call. She let it ring. Then came a second one, this time from a private number. Jordan answered, her voice cool and steady. On the other end, the CEO launched into a mix of apologies and explanations, citing misunderstandings, policy issues, and employee error. But Jordan wasn't interested in excuses. "I'm not calling to hear regrets," she said. "I'm calling to let you know there's going to be a shift in how your company handles people like me, people who don't fit your idea of what success looks like." There was a pause. Then Jordan added, "You'll be hearing from my team." By the end of the day, the airline had issued an internal memo, one that didn't name her directly but made clear that something major had just happened. A quiet reshuffling of staff began. An emergency board meeting was called to address the growing tension between leadership and technology partners. But the final twist came days later. Instead of going public with the incident, Jordan launched a new initiative. She announced a partnership between her company and a coalition of minority-owned businesses to offer diversity and inclusion audits for major corporations, including airlines. The message was clear. She wasn't just here to win. She was here to change the game. And the airline, they signed up immediately. In the weeks that followed, the story of what happened at Gate 17 never made headlines, but it didn't need to. Inside boardrooms and executive suites, the ripple effect was undeniable. Quiet conversations were happening across industries, and Jordan Sinclair's name carried a new kind of weight, not just as a powerhouse tech CEO, but as a catalyst for accountability. The airline kept their promise. They worked closely with Jordan's team, allowing full access to review their internal systems, not just tech, but culture. Training programs were revamped, hiring practices re-evaluated, and leadership diversity became a core focus. It wasn't just a patch, it was a rebuild from the inside out. Meanwhile, Jordan's new initiative took off faster than anyone expected. Companies from all over reached out, not wanting to be the next to fall short. What began as a moment of discrimination had turned into a movement for equity, all led by the woman who was once told she was in the wrong line. Passengers who had witnessed the original moment at the airport later shared what they saw, not in anger, but in admiration. One wrote, "She didn't raise her voice. She didn't threaten. She just made one call. That's real power." Jordan never posted about the incident. She never called for boycotts or issued public statements. She didn't need to. Her actions spoke louder than any headline could. She reminded everyone watching that leadership isn't about titles or noise. It's about knowing who you are and standing firm in it, even when the world tries to shrink you. And as for that airline, let's just say they never questioned another first-class ticket again, especially when the name on it read *Jordan Sinclair*.